That's it. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to sit here and wait for a second until people. I don't know what to think. This is awfully early for people.
I know.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So Jake just cut all this stuff out because it's just me sitting here doing nothing. It's Tracy Pinter's on here, of course, even though it's 1 p.m.
Thanks, Tracy.
Tracy Pinter, I thought that your state had like a higher rate of coronavirus than everyone else, but turns out it doesn't. Turns out New Jersey's much higher. So, you know.
And our school systems are still open in Jersey.
Yes.
Well,
Well, most of them are, yeah. What's up, John Lopez? John Lopez. I gave my friend last night, so I got this book, which I'm going to read. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. I gave my friend the Latin book that you sent, The Hobbit. She was particularly excited about, and Winnie the Pooh. Didn't she freak out last night?
She was
So the
so
head of our
pumped.
Latin department like freaked out, and I shared those with her last night. She was really thrilled. All right, here comes everybody. All right, I'm going to jump in. So what am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Jake, you can cut out the first minute and 23 seconds of this, I guess. So I'm going to jump in and do my intro, and then we'll get started, and I want to share some stuff with you guys. So if you're new, so Jake, you can start it now. The reason I have Jake start this over again is because I have to do this little intro every week because I don't want to expect that everybody has been here before. So maybe you're brand new. Maybe you're wondering what we're doing here. My name is CJ Reynolds. I run this YouTube channel. It's called Real Rap With Reynolds. And the idea here is we show up every Sunday to help one another out because Sundays are a terrifying time. I think particularly right now are tricky times in education as a lot of us are kind of getting ready to start figuring out what it looks like to teach from home. And we can talk about that a little bit tonight. But the idea is that you show up on Sundays. Today, we're showing up at 1 p.m. And we're going to try this out and see how this works. But there are tons of other people that are on here watching this. If you're watching this live, you can leave your question in the side or wherever your little area is on YouTube. And leave your question. I will not be the only one answering it. There will be a ton of other people on the side that are everyone from administration to education majors to actual teachers in the classroom. And we are trying to figure this stuff out together. So that's kind of the gist of this. If this isn't enough for you, you can also go to our Facebook page, which is Real Rap with Reynolds Teacher Talk on Facebook. It's a closed page. So make sure you answer those 3 questions. Just that makes us sure that you're not like a bot or you're not some kind of company that's trying to come in and sell stuff. And it's a safe space for people to really share and get answers for what they're going through. I also have a book that is coming out. I just keeps almost coming out. And I have the release date for that, but I don't think I'm allowed to share. I should probably do the call with the publisher before they give me that exact date to share. Whatever, it will be out soon. It's called Teach Your Class Off, the Real Rap Guide to Teaching. And that's it. Or you can have me come speak at your school, but that looks like no one's really doing that right now either. But I could speak Skype call to your school or something like that.
Nobody will be at school.
I know. Even like Dave Burgess was like, all right, I think I'm just home for a while. Yeah. Was that it? Cool.
That's it.
All right.
Oh, and we have a winner. If you want to
So
announce
we
that.
have a winner, and I'm going to wait a second because that's going to be my grand finale. First of all, I want to talk about, I don't really talk about online the things that I get from people in the mail. So John Lopez sent me a bunch of fountain pens recently with this really fancy like Japanese paper to write on there and a bunch of books, including Silence of the Lambs and then some books in Latin for I gave them to my department head to kind of keep in her room for the real nerdy kids that like want to read The Hobbit in Latin. Then I got, I think it was Brenda who sent me this. I'm just forgetting off the top of my head.
Put the card away because I put the card away.
Yeah, I have like a stack of cards that like I need to send out to people. She got me this shirt, right? That is a typewriter with all these pages coming off of it. But if you look really close, it is the entire text from On the Road by Jack Kerouac, which is one of my favorite books of all time. But the front and back, it's the whole book. It's crazy. It is so heavy from the. Have you felt how heavy this shirt is?
Oh, it is.
from the amount of ink, I guess, that they used in it. It is awesome. Then I get this nameplate from this dude.
Ron Proctor.
So my guy, Ron Proctor, 3D printed one of these for me the other day, and then he sent it to me, right? Then Ron Proctor also has a side gig where he makes guitars out of cigar boxes. And he made me one, and I don't know how to play this thing. But I'm gonna learn how to play it. So me and Ron Proctor can jam at some point and sit on a porch somewhere and drink beer and play this.
Beautiful.
It is look how freaking nice this is. Look at these things at the bottom.
Just show his little tag.
He has a little tag, super official looking. So just amazing, man, amazing. So to all the people that send stuff all the time, from the paintings of the Sunset Whisperer to everybody else that just sends stuff, I really, really appreciate it. And I don't make those kind of videos to show that stuff. And I don't know if I should or shouldn't, but like, I don't want to, I don't know. I don't do it.
Oh, John Lopez said, I believe that there is a version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas in Latin. Oh my gosh, that's great. Who knew?
Who knew?
Right? Who thought Winnie the Pooh or even The Hobbit or any of that stuff?
I don't know.
She was so excited. I looked
She was
inside the book. I'm like,
thrilled.
You're really going to read this? She goes, oh, I'm reading it now that we're on like this
Yeah.
homeschool kind of
I like
thing.
that she really knows Latin that well that she can read a
it
whole
is
book on it.
impressive.
So, look, if you have a question, go ahead and put Q or question in front of it. If you didn't do that and you put your question already, it's cool. But I'm going to try and get through a bunch of these, and it's only 1 o'clock, so let's go. Tracy Pinder, question: how do you, Jen, not too secret wife? That's it.
Oh.
Schedule out homeschool throughout the day. We are closed for 3 weeks and possibly the rest of the year. So I think what I'm going to do. So I'm taking over homeschooling.
Hooray.
For the next few weeks.
Let me just say, homeschool has been really tough with the loss of my dad, and that was the beginning of the summer, and planning kind of went out the window. I had grand ideas to be much more structured, and that just didn't happen. And then with the death of my brother, like, it's really been a tough one for me to like figure out and balance all of that. So homeschool just kind of like happens when it happens, but I definitely do it between the hours. Our biggest section is probably between 11 and 2 o'clock is when we do any type of school stuff.
Yeah, because we let our kids wake up whenever they want to wake up, and then Brody is very systematic. So my son has high functioning autism, which makes his day like if you've ever seen Rain Man,
things.
like he's like not quite that level, but like he likes to wake up and he needs a certain number of things to happen to kind of move into his day, which we're fine with. And so it's, and then kind of school happens after that. This week, we are going to look at a couple of different things. So I'm taking over teaching for the next couple of weeks because I'm off. So I'm off for the next 2 weeks at least. I really think it's going to be more than that is the feeling that I get. So because of the coronavirus, they've closed all Philadelphia public schools for 2 weeks, but so what that's going to look like for us is like giving my kids something to focus on. So Marley and I are going to take a cross country trip this summer in June, right after graduation, to drive from New Jersey to California. And then Brody has a fear of bees, and it gives him a lot of anxiety. So he's going to do a research project on bees. And we're going to kind of look into that because I don't want him to just be afraid of something. I want him to understand the things that he is afraid of, this thing that he's really afraid of, and stops him from like going outside and going into the garden sometimes. And we really garden a lot, or going to the woods. He gets freaked out when he hears bugs. So that's kind of what that's going to look like in the next couple of weeks. And then whatever else I kind of like dream up. So yeah, this wasn't homeschooling, but we were making fake spy gear yesterday in Marley's room, and now she has a thing that you have to put your hand on to get into her room, and a keypad, and all kinds of other nonsense that we've been doing. Abby is asking, I want to talk about that winner too. I'm going to tell the winner from last week's book thing, but I'm going to do Abby's question first. Abby said, I'm a big believer that learning should be integrated. So how do I, as a high school math, gosh, I'm reading on a no grade level today. The question is, I am a big believer that learning should be integrated. So how do I, as a high school math teacher, incorporate other academic areas like ELA into my instruction? So Abby, I would say, one, I would reach out to whoever your ELA teacher is in your school. So like who's ever on grade level, and see what they're working on right now. So one of the things, I missed this opportunity this year. We were talking about, how do we get into this? So we were talking about in Lord of the Flies, how the author of Lord of the Flies, William Golding, thinks that humans are innately evil, right? That was one of the things he was trying to or they're innately good or evil. And that was one of the points he was trying to prove with the book. After going through D-Day in World War II and seeing the atrocities that human beings can do to one another, that was one of his beliefs. And so I asked the students, do you think that humans are born good or evil? Or do you think they become good or evil? Or do they born blank slates? And so it turns out that they had talked about that same idea in civics class this year, and I didn't even know, because our teacher turnover is so rampant that it's really hard to touch base with teachers all the time. But that's something they already talked about, and I felt like I totally freaking missed out on it, and that was really upsetting. So I would touch base with other people that are doing it. And then I think it's about just reading and writing a bit more. So can you find something that fits into, maybe there's a longer word problem, maybe there's subject matter that your students could be reading about. Maybe you find places that math is alive in the world. Like where are people watching it? Where are people checking it out? Where is it showing up that your students might not think of? Could be an interesting way too. So I think off the top of my head, I would I think one, I would go to the Facebook group and drop that question in there. I'm certain you will get answers. So just go to Real Rap with Reynolds Teacher Talk on Facebook. Ask to be a part of it. You have to just answer 3 questions. You can be a part of it. Ask your question in there. 2, I would check out New York Times website. They have free website for educators. That's New York Times. If you type in New York Times lesson plans, stuff will come up, and then just put in math lessons, and they often do things where they'll give you a lesson plan, they'll give you reading, they'll attach a video to it, so they really kind of diversify it, and it's really great. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, as if the New York Times needs anyone to be affiliated with them, but it's a really great space to find some good stuff out. Did you lose it?
No.
Okay. Should I talk about this first? All right, so last week I talked about this book.
You moved it, it's in the kitchen.
Oh,
I'm
snap.
not getting it because
You don't want to walk through? I'll get it. Be right back. All right, that quick. Game Changer by my buddy Kobe Sharp. We said we were going to give this away. So we picked a name out of all the people that put names up, and that name is Sylvia. I'm going to get your last name wrong, but it's Sylvia. Is the winner. So I'm going to, Sylvia, if you see this, I'll also post it on social media. Just email me at realrapwithreynolds@gmail.com and send me your shipping information, your mailing address, and I will get that right to you. So good work. What do you got? Oh, this is a question? Cool. H. Sadat is asking, question, how do I teach reading to kids online? So, right, this is the new kind of norm for all of us, right? It seems like. And for a lot of us, like my kids' school, our local public school has not been closed down yet, but all Philadelphia public schools have been closed down. And it was funny, not funny, but like weird, thinking of Taxi Driver on my head now. Funny how? Right? Was that Taxi Driver?
I don't know. I didn't watch that show.
Come on, bro. Well, we have 2 weeks off. So we were supposed to have a training on Monday to talk about how we were going to navigate this upcoming time with online learning and set up Google Classroom for those of us that didn't have. I don't use Google Classroom because my students a lot of them don't have computers or internet. So it's like we were going to prepare to do this and then have school next week and be ready for this. And then it just kind of happened, and they canceled school for the next 2 weeks, but we still have to put stuff online and have kids reading stuff. And I don't really want to, I don't know enough about a lot of online resources because I teach at a school that we're not one-to-one with our freshmen. Like sophomores and above are all one-to-one, but we have, for whatever reason, we don't do it for the freshmen. So they don't have computers. So it becomes this tricky thing of like, how do I navigate that? Now, our school is giving out loaner computers to freshmen that need them. So they can go to the school, they can get a laptop, they sign it out, and then they have it. I don't know how they're going to work with internet or possibly without internet. So it's all this kind of wacky stuff that we have to sort of navigate. So my plan is to figure that out this week, and then I was going to make a video about it and saying like, here's what I'm doing, but I'm not really certain yet. I mean, to me, it just seems like a lot of like articles. I mean, we just finished a novel, so I teach literature. We just finished a novel. We were getting ready for the test, and now it's like, well, now what do I do with that? Like, do I give a project maybe instead? But I don't know who has supplies, or, the tricky part about teaching inner city is there's a lot of students that are living that are homeless, that are in shelters, that are living in the foster care system. They're living places that don't have supplies, that don't have the means to create something. And so it's this wild space. So to be honest with you, one of the places I'm going to look is the Facebook group has been talking about this a lot. There's a lot of great resources in there. There are a lot of people giving resources away. And so I am looking to benefit from that because it's not...
You're going to go I know, go in your own group and learn like where to do it, because that's not your strong suit when it comes to technology.
Well, because it's
haven't... Just not needed.
It's not been needed at my school. It's like, we deal with the things that we have. I'm constantly used to making something from nothing. And so I'm not so certain yet, but as I learn and as I figure stuff out, I'll share it with people, and then hopefully I can get some feedback on it, and folks can say like, this is a good way to do it or a bad way to do it, or here's a better way to handle that situation. Because we're still required to like post things online every single day. We're required to put grades in every week. And then what do you do when kids just like aren't doing it? Or what do you do when we go back to school and like no one did the work, but then the excuse is they didn't have power, they didn't have internet, they didn't have a computer, the computer didn't work, they didn't see where it was online. Like there's 1,000 excuses that I can't help students navigate right now. That is very, very tricky. So yeah.
Are you going to give your students your phone number or house phone?
I won't give my phone number out. I have too many kids and I don't.
I'll email you.
Yeah, so they can just email me. It just goes right to my phone. And then if I had to do a phone call, I could. I thought about doing YouTube live streams once a day for students, and like that's where they would get the basis of the information. But we'll see, because they're all on YouTube anyway. John is asking, what do you think about teaching from a PowerPoint 3 to 5 times per week? Please answer. So I don't think like disseminating information to your students is a bad thing ever. I think your mom is texting me. I think the issue is your PowerPoint interesting? Is it leading to something that's interactive or gets kids moving? And how long is it? So sometimes, I know teachers that will speak for 45 minutes on something and they're really giving a lecture. That works for some students. Some kids like that stuff. I have kids that don't want to do the project, the fun thing, the crawling around the floor, the going out in the hallway, the running around outside. Like they don't want to do like all the wild extra stuff because they don't see how that leads to points. Right? They get real caught up in like, is this for points? Am I getting a grade for doing this or whatever? And they want to just do the worksheet, the book. Like no matter how many conversations, it's like they just want it. That's how they want to learn, or that's how they want to do things. And so you have to navigate your classroom in the way that it needs to be navigated. So I think it's about figuring out if that's working for your students. If you're doing that and your students are learning, then it's a good thing to do. If you're doing it and your students are not learning, then you need to rethink what your approach to the specific kids that you're teaching. And that might be, look, I have lesson plans for 4 classes and 1 class has not been the same because they just can't handle that sort of freedom. So for instance, real quick, last week we were finishing up Lord of the Flies. We're outside and there's this big hill behind this, not big hill, but there's a hill behind the school. and we are acting out the last part of Lord of the Flies. So Jack and his crew are on the top. The Ralph and Piggy are down at the bottom with Percival, and they're kind of having this argument. And I give the guy that's playing Roger like little paper balls, and he's chucking them at Ralph and Piggy as they're talking. And then we sort of act out the end of Lord of the Flies. And some dudes like just couldn't handle it. It was like, there's a bird, or we're talking about something, or why are we out here, or it's cold, or is this going to be on the test, or like that sort of behavior. So it's like, all right, so like I guess this class like can't do this. So they've just been doing a slightly different activity in class every day instead of the one that I'm doing with the rest of the students, because that's what's going to help them to be the best that they can be, and that's what it comes down to. I'm really sorry that I'm going to say your name if I say your name wrong. Minoic. I think I'm saying that right. Oh gosh, God, I'm so bad. I think it's Manoic. Manoek. I'm going with that. So question, would you rather teach using Skype, being able to answer questions live, or record a lesson and send it to the kids? So I think it could be both. It could be live. So if I do this on YouTube and it's live, then it also exists on YouTube and the students can still like watch back, or they can look at it again. If kids aren't available, like, so I'm not sure what the schedule is going to be in the school. So like who else is teaching at what time? If they were doing live also, maybe everyone can't be there. Maybe you're busy doing something else and you can't get to your computer or whatever. You couldn't log on in time. I don't want anyone to miss anything because I'm doing it live. And I also, it makes me a little bit nervous that, I wouldn't say nervous, but I just think, look, if I was in high school and my teacher did something live and my name was anonymous because I was like Big Sauce in 93, and, who's saying what on there, who's doing what on there, like, I'm just like, bro, I don't feel
like. You can't discipline either.
Yeah, and you don't know who's doing what. Right? So like if they're saying like some out of pocket stuff because you think you're just sneaky, and like that is something I would have done in high school. Or I would have at least told my friends, hey, no, it'd be funny if you did this.
This is a huge learning process.
Yeah, so it's going to be a learning curve. So I think if I did anything, it would be live on YouTube, and then it would be something that like the students could follow up later. Catherine Scott is asking, what should I do to mimic a Socratic seminar online? Ooh. You could do Zoom. On Zoom, you can, or even Google Hangouts. You can do like, you can have different people sign in. So like, depending on, so I like Zoom better, and this is why. Google Hangouts does this thing where as soon as someone says anything or coughs or, bless you, or does, I was going to make a joke there, but that was inappropriate, so I stopped. So if you do anything, it shoots from one picture to the other, and that is so distracting to me. Whereas Zoom is like either everyone's up there or everyone's small on the bottom, or I think you have a little bit more control is what it seems like to me. So, and you can just send a link out to everyone and say, hey, we're doing a Zoom call at this particular time. Here's the link to it. Just click it. It'll take you right to the meeting. And that's how I would do it. I think that was it. And then that's how I would run the seminar online. What you got, dude? Piano Boy, what's up, buddy? Is saying, what's something or some things that you personally purchased that help you greatly in the classroom?
I just laugh because I think it's like bubbles, fake mustache, toys.
I think it's not a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff I've made. I just really, really believe that silliness in the classroom helps everyone. So I'd say this. I'd say buying independent reading books for students, getting those either through Donors Choose or getting someone to donate books to my classroom has really been a huge effect, because you're putting books in the hands of students that don't want to read, but then they get a book that they want to read, and now they want to read the book. I think dumb stuff like bubble microphones and mustaches and eyeball stickers and all the goofy stuff that I buy really helps, because it snaps you out of your regular mode of thinking, right? So I read a study that said we think about that 90% of our day is largely the same as every other day. So like what time you get up, what you have for breakfast, the way you take to work, what you think about, what you're listening to, what podcasts you get down with, what music you get down with, the way that your classroom runs. It's so much consistency that I just think that gives you very little time to really think outside the box or have something disrupt your day in a good way. So I'm trying to disrupt days with happy and with joy. And so the way that I do that is by having these kind of like silly things that I do in class, and that suits my personality. But I think you could do that even if that's not your personality. I think you could do something along those lines where you're disrupting the average flow of the day with something interesting, funny, cool, amazing, thought-provoking, and that's cool. So I think those are the things that I've had the biggest thing. Your mom is really texting me a ton of Bible stuff right now. Sylph, you're clearly not watching the live feed
She
right
doesn't
now.
know that the time changed that we're doing it at
Come
1.
on. Could you let her know?
No.
She should be on here. So Marcus Stone is asking, question for clinical student teacher who had to stop their interns who had to stop their interns because of a virus. I feel like I'm missing out on an experience that is crucial prior to getting my teaching position. So Marcus, it is. Like I think student teaching can't be replaced. Like, and if people go into teaching and don't student teach, I feel like they are kind of missing out on something a little bit, right? It's like going to high school online and not really like getting to go to the baby, you can just walk by.
Because cool. Guess what? Everyone can still see you,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
All of our spy training yesterday. Come on, man. We did spy ninja training yesterday also. In the woods. It was fun. So I think that those kids are missing out on something about high school and prom and all that stuff, but it's not the be all end all. Like student teaching didn't make me into what I am or not make me into something else. I think it's about then when you start teaching, make sure that you have some sort of mentor. Make sure that you sign up, whether it's like a paid thing, like the kind of we run, or you find someone online, or you follow a YouTube channel, or you have someone at your school that you trust, or another school like that you're connected with, someone helping you out. I think that's the biggest thing in student teaching is you are failing in front of someone or succeeding in front of someone, and they are giving you immediate feedback every single day. That's the best thing about student teaching. It's no more than that. It is sort of like the try it before you buy it kind of thing. But student teaching felt very much like my first year of teaching, I think. But it was.
But I guess they don't get to make that back up, like.
Yeah, but I think it's okay. Like I think you'll be all right. Haley Hunsucker is saying, that's a great name, Haley Hunsucker. What's your name? Haley. It sounds like a private eye. Haley Hunsucker. Weird. Private eye. That is a little weird.
No, you're weird.
Oh, I know what you were saying. I am agreeing with you that you are correct. Any tips for reading Julius Caesar at home? My kids are in the middle of it, but now I'm out for 2 weeks. I'm going to send notes home. Not everyone has internet access. That is tough because reading a play alone sucks. That's why I don't read plays alone. Like, we're supposed to send our students home. Oh, gosh. Now, I'm getting a ton of text messages from people. Because it's like reading a play on your own is just boring. So let's think. How I'm asking you because,
watch the movie.
You're the only other person in the room.
Let
me ask that. Does anyone have an answer to that? So I want to know, someone is asking, what would you do to... Sarah Flounders keeps texting me, which means she's not watching my live feed either. Come on, girl. Let's get it together. What would you do if you had to have students read a play at home? Did they just have to suck it up and read it at home? I think maybe I would see if I could find a free audio book of that. Like YouTube has tons of free audio stuff on there. Or we use through our local library Hoopla, which is Hoopla, and you can get tons of free stuff on there that is like audio books. So that might be more fun to listen to. Or, I mean, it's a play. So maybe you like just watch the movie. I don't know if they have a movie for Julius Caesar actually, but so something along those lines could be cool too, and then have them do a project based something with it. So because otherwise it's like, I mean, you could do like a Skype call or a Zoom or a Google Hangout, but they're gonna cap you at so many people.
No, they
But
someone posted on here they lifted all of those restrictions like capping
oh really?
and time limits. Also, Zoom did and Flipgrid did also for
Okay.
all of this that's going on for people that are affected by this with
Yeah.
schools. They've lifted all those restrictions.
So what if you had like a number of students that you gave extra credit to and they read for the parts and every day you went on and like they all read together, and so students could do it as part of a collaborative experience or they could do it on their own, but you gave that opportunity and then everyone's at home and you're reading together. That might be a really fun experience too. I feel like
but
I would want to
think
do that.
the thing is, she said they don't have internet.
Oh, yeah. So
That's
that
a
would,
hard one.
yeah. So I think it ends up just being them
Reading.
reading it themselves or watching it or listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, that's one of those things I'm going to put out to you all. Like, do you have an answer for that? And like, what do you think could be done in that situation?
The hardest part is on today's teacher talk is like a lot of the questions are geared towards coronavirus and like what to do and how to like teach online, and it's like you don't necessarily have all the you're going to go to the Facebook group to find
Because it's one of those things I have to learn because it's just so crazy that this thing came out of nowhere and seemingly right, but like it was like slow and steady, and you watch the news, but the news as always it was like, you know, it was bird flu and it was swine flu and it was it was killer bees from Africa that were coming up from Mexico for a while, and there's always something. But then this was like, oh no, oh we're really closing schools. Oh, this is like this really turned into contagion all of a sudden. I'm not really sure what's going on with this, and people are really getting sick and people are really passing away from this, and it's this thing that you're trying not to get too freaked out about, but you know, but it's making people buy toilet paper at an alarming rate. BJ's, there was no, that poor guy. We were in line at BJ's the other day getting stuff, and this poor guy in front of me, he's there with his son, and they told him he couldn't buy as much bread as he had in his cart, and he was like, this isn't even for coronavirus. This is like, he's like, I got 8 kids. Like, I always need this much bread. Like, this is what we eat at home. It's like, I just feed him peanut butter and jellies all the time. And like, the woman was just looking at him, and I wanted to be like, I think they ended up letting him go, but I wanted to be like, bro, I'll buy half that bread.
Right.
I'll just give it to you when we get in the parking lot, you know, for a good deal. I'll hook you up. You know,
like all the people.
You know, all the people on Amazon, they're selling $34 cases of toilet paper. Maisha is asking, question. Hi, Maisha, by the way. You're always on here, and I love it. Question. I am on the fence about placing new assignments online when I'm aware that the students may or may not attempt the assignment. How should I start digitally assigning work? So I thought about that too, because I want to start a new book. We're going to read Fahrenheit 451 next, and the students don't have the book, and I don't have a way to get all the students the book, and like, so, and I don't want to have them like take public transportation to the school to get the book from me. Like, it's like, stay at home. So I think it's going to have to be a bunch of like kind of one-off assignments or projects. And so I would think of it like this. If you're giving something new, just have some grace for it. Give it to students knowing that there's going to be problems with this. There's going to be students that are not going to do it or going to cheat or going to figure out a way. Like, I have guys right now that are failing for the year. Man, if you're failing my class, like, you deserve to be failing my class. And I mean that by saying, like, I give every possible opportunity for students to bring up their grade, to do better, to retake tests, to make up assignments, to come and see me for help. I like get all up in your face and I call home and I do all these things to make sure that students can pass. So if you're failing with a 69, it's like, bro, you really like, you know, I'm throwing you the life raft and you're drowning going, no, I got it. I'm good. And I'm like, no, but you don't. You're failing. You're drowning. And so it's like, some kids I think are going to end up benefiting the year and like potentially passing the year because of this situation. I am just kind of like giving that worry up. It's like, here's what I'm going to put online. I'm going to do my absolute best. I'm going to do my best to teach you in a way that I'm not really familiar with. I was not trained to teach students online. I'm not an online school. And we do the best that we can. I think that's what it comes down to. And, you know, like when's the last time this happened? In the early 1900s when like the flu outbreak happened? Like these things don't happen very often. So look, it's like 100 years until this happens again, hopefully. And we don't have to really worry about it. So I think that's how I'm sort of choosing to look at it. Is this our winner? No.
What's her name?
Gosh. So I'm going to read your second question. But could you tell me real quick in the comment section if I'm saying your name right? Because I just want to know. It's Minoic. And I'm not attempting your last name because I'm just going to torture myself with it. But I just want to know, am I saying that right? So if you could tell me, that would be great. Or spell it phonetically, because I just want to honor you by saying your name right. The question is, and no problem asking a second question. That's always great. How do you react to kids being plain rude to you? They listen to what I say, but I can say pretty mean things they listen to what I say, but they can say pretty mean things to me and to other students. Let's talk about this real quick. This is a great question. I think sometimes students need to have a real honest conversation with a teacher about their behavior in class. So the other day, this happened and something happened in class and I wanted to address it, but I have been addressing it since the beginning of the year. So I always ask someone else to step in on those conversations with me then. I find a trusted advisor to that student, a teacher that they get along with, somebody in the school that both knows me and the student, and I ask them to sit down with me as well. And so on the other day, Friday or Thursday or whatever, myself and Miss Cho, who's been on this show before, sit down with a student, and we just had a real honest conversation about look, I need you to understand that I'm a grown-up. I'm a 43-year-old man. I got 2 kids, a dog, and a wife. I got a house, and I pay a mortgage, and I have a shed that I use as a wood shop. I have a very regular life outside of this. And so when I come to school because I actually care about you. I'm here because you matter to me. And you might not believe that. You might think that I'm full of crap or that teachers always say that to you and they don't really mean it, or whatever your baggage is your baggage. But I'm letting you know that I truly care about you. But that love that I feel for you is not unconditional. My love has limits and my kindness has limits. And so when you get to a place where you're telling me off in class, or you're saying something to me that's completely rude, when you're hurting another student's feelings, and some students, it's playful, right? It's like banter. But then there are other kids that I have deemed off limits. There's certain kids in class that do not have the wherewithal. They don't have the quick-wittedness. They don't have the processing ability to come back at you or to even understand all the time that you're making fun of them. And for those reasons, those dudes are off limits. If you bother those students, or if you come at me like that again, then we're going to have to take this to another level. We're talking suspension, sitting down with the principal, sitting down with the school board, sitting down with your parents coming in and disrupting their day, because I am a human being also, and I need to show you what self-respect looks like. And that is, I tell kids all the time, look, you, I love. You, I think, are fantastic. You're great. You're wonderful. Your behavior sucks, and we need to address that situation. And I think that conversation with students, it just goes so far, and I never lost from having one of those. Kids don't always ultimately win. They're not don't become great students, but man, they are rarely an issue for me anymore. They're rarely an issue for other teachers in the same way that they've been a problem before. And it's one of those things that I'd say about 90% of the conversations I've had like that, those students go on to become some of my favorite students, because you were willing to be real with them, to have a real conversation, and to also let them speak. So I would maybe start off a conversation like that, like this, and I won't go on this too long, but I tell kids, I need to speak to you, and it's always in private. Here's the story I'm telling myself, is that you're doing this. This is what I'm seeing in class, and this is a story that I'm telling myself. I lay that out for a kid, and I say, is what I'm seeing what's actually happening in class? Or am I imagining it? Or am I seeing that you're doing, like you didn't mean it like that, or you meant something else? Or, what's your take on that? So you're providing the opportunity for that student to have feedback, that's real and honest and candid. It's not this like this prescribed way that we do it sometimes in schools. It's much more open and honest and real, and that's the real Rap with Reynolds that kids start talking about, that we named the channel after. So I think that's how I would address it. And I'm telling you, like, it's nerve-wracking, but once you start doing it and you do it more and more, and you have someone there with you, like, you will find that works 9 times out of 10.
If it's a general question or to you.
Okay. Audra Smith is asking, my state has canceled school for 3 weeks starting Wednesday. Don't get me started on the absurdity of having class for 2 days. Oh, I get you. That's like when you come back from Christmas break and they're like, we have it 1 day. And it's like, for what? Like, why don't we just have that day off? Because now it's just making everything weird. Anyone have any good Poli Sci resources for remote learning? So, yeah, that was a general question. But I'll shout it out though. What's her name?
Audra Smith.
All right. So Audra Smith, if anyone can speak to her, if you have any Poli Sci lesson plans on there, that would be awesome. What's that? 2
comments down. It says, for anyone and everyone. Sorry.
Yeah. So if anyone has like a place to get those resources, or if they know of something great, then that would be awesome that you could share with her and help her out in that. Amanda is asking, we weren't giving anything certain, but at the same time we were told, forget about April. So do I plan both online and in person? That's a good question.
Who says just forget April? That's what you tell your teachers?
Yeah. So look, like the governor in Ohio said, like, he's like, let's be real, we're not going back to school in April. Or this year, he said, this school year. That's crazy. I don't know. So look, this is why this is tricky for me to answer. All of my lessons are already planned out. They've been planned out all year. I finagle things when I realize that, like, who my students are, what their interests are, what they're into, what they're struggling with. Like, it's not like set in stone curriculum. But like I said before, I think what you're presenting the students is cake, right? And so you're giving them the cake, but then how do you decorate the cake is going to be different. So I think that the cake, whether online or in person, is going to be the same thing, like imagery and characterization and molecular structures. Like those things are all, like, algebra is still algebra, whether we do it online or in person. It's the inability to really check for understanding all the time, and to watch a student's process as they're doing something that makes this really difficult. So that's the tricky part, and the engagement aspect is tricky as well. So, but that being said,
someone commented on here and they said, I teach special education. I have no idea how I'm going to give these students accommodations, right? Because it's that like personal one-to-one.
Well, and so we were told, having a co-teacher, I was told to send my lesson plans to Kayla, who was then supposed to modify them. But I don't know. It's like none of us have been trained on like online learning like this.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, can't we just put hazmat suits on and go to school? Like, look like extras from E.T. Just put the building in plastic. Go in with hazmat suits. It's so much easier.
Yeah, someone else said my school is absolutely not equipped to do anything online. We have done 0 online work to this point.
Yeah.
This is really tough.
But look, here's the thing, right? So I don't necessarily have an exact answer for that, but I would say I would plan out for the rest of the year and then try and then reverse engineer that and go, well, how can I do this online? How can I do this online? How can I do this online? I think the bottom line is, look, no one's going to lose absolutely, right? Like, we're not going to have kids that grow up and in 10 years there's a gap and we're like, no, these kids can't read. No one can do science. No one got into college. Like,
right.
But I think there are outliers, and there are going to be students who, like, if we look at students who do like, what's the reading program we use for Brody? Or in Gillingham,
or like a Wilson.
Right? Like, they need that repetitiveness, they need that consistency. There are absolutely outliers to this. But I think overall, students are not going to like win or lose because even if we miss school for the rest of this year, I think it will be okay. I think, one of the things I'd love to see happen is like testing go away for the year. Like how are we expected to prepare students for state testing if there's no time to really do that? And the kids that really want to learn are going to be the kids that still learn. There's going to be kids that are diving in and doing the work and reading the book and looking up the resources and doing that. But what do we do for those struggling learners? That's the hardest thing. And then, so I think it's going to be really interesting for us all to kind of figure this out together. And I think it's a time really in history where teachers really are going to have to lean on one another more than we've ever had to lean on one another before, to really borrow ideas from one another, to share thoughts and lesson plans and ideas. And that is, I think, a really exciting time, because people aren't doing that normally.
Yeah, no.
Or they do it hiddenly, or they buy TPT stuff all the time. And I just hope that even sites like that, like TPT, doesn't become this sort of profiteering thing where they're...
Well, that's what I really love about our group. It's all kinds of sharing going on in there. And
in the Facebook group, yeah.
Even in this, like, there was a guy in here, I can't recall what his name was now, but he was saying, like, he was just giving all kinds of advice. And I just thought, how wonderful, like, all this sharing. Amanda Davis said, I was also told not to work too hard on these because that could be the state's way to say that we don't need teachers.
I mean, I can see what I wouldn't go that far. Like,
well, it's going to show that maybe it could possibly show that. Well, look at like Gary Vee even said, like, he says, I don't think public education, like brick and mortar schools, will be existing at some point.
No.
That it'll all go to online, and this is.
No, he didn't say online. He said it will go to public, like, so teachers will get hired one-to-one to hire to, like, as tutors, like, for their children, and like the best teachers will get the most money to work for really families that can afford it.
Someone also made a concern about, like, will Google Classroom be able to handle the bandwidth, like, with all this influx of. I think they will.
Yeah, because it's Google. They own the world.
All right, I'm trying to find another question.
Okay.
There's lots of.
Cool. Well, I'll just sit here for a minute while you're doing that. I got this cool new shirt at Old Navy.
Liked it.
Old Navy has all these like old school hip hop shirts all of a sudden. I'm loving it. And Old Navy has like really soft shirts. I don't really like the fact that this is created somewhere that, in some sweatshop somewhere.
I can't find a question. They're all like talking to
But I make that teacher money right now, so it's hard to do that. Still looking for a question?
Yeah, because everyone's just talking.
I'm just sitting here on the internet.
Really
You want me to sing a song? Oh man, remember when I used to sing songs? Let's do that. I know what I should do. I got it.
Got one.
Oh, here.
Here, I think that's
I was just gonna play everyone a song on my cigar box guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Amanda is saying, I consider doing the hippo video, sending videos during that time, so that having.
Maybe that's to someone else.
Oh. But also having. You just didn't want me to sing a song.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's not really a question.
Oh gosh.
Do you want me to find a question?
Sure, and I'll scroll from the bottom.
I don't know if this is a question either. AGD in CA. I just joined. We are covering teaching. Are we covering teaching even though schools are closed? Are logistics closed too? So yes, we are talking about teaching and how to teach in light of all the crazy stuff that's going on right now. I feel like someone said, are schools canceled in the US? Not all schools are canceled yet, but it's because like the outbreak, like as of this morning, like Alaska had one case, North Dakota had one case, but New Jersey's in the top 10. New York and what was the other one?
New York schools aren't even closed.
Yeah.
And they're like in the top 3, like 5 or something like that.
So not everyone's closed yet, but
Crazy.
it's still kind of happening.
Janelle said, I work in a school now and the kids can tell who my favorites are, even if I try not to make it obvious. I think it would be a problem if I was a teacher. But for now, it's okay. Oh, I thought that was a question. Never mind.
Gosh, there's so much stuff going on
it is
here.
a question. Is it wrong or looked down upon to have favorite students? Do all teachers have favorite students? And when I became a teacher, how should I go about not making it obvious who my favorites are?
How do you make it obvious?
Here,
So
Janelle.
say it again. Is it wrong to be wrong or looked down upon to have favorite students? Do all teachers have favorite students? And how do I become a teacher? How when I become a teacher, how do I I'm sorry, it's hard to read all the way over there. How do I go about making it not obvious who my favorites are? So, I tell every class they're my favorite class. I would say that. I have favorite students, but look, I would say this. Most of my favorite students, I teach freshmen mostly, and so when they're seniors, like they're just my guys. That's just how it rolls. And so I think that that's interesting because they my freshmen know that like you can build up to getting to that status where they hear us just talk. We sound like just old friends. We talk about movies, we talk about food, we talk about all kinds of stuff that they're interested in. We eat together, they hang out in my room after school, we play ping pong in my room together or whatever crazy weird crap we're doing. So that sort of thing happens. And I think that's great because you're showing students what this can look like if you build it up. Now, freshmen, there are kids that I really, really like or I'm endeared towards. I guess I don't really let people see that, but I tell the kids, look, because I think one of the issues I run into is I tease kids a lot. I use humor for everything in class. So one of my favorite kids this year, his last name is McCants. And so I tell him if he wants to go to the bathroom, I go, you can't go to the bathroom right now. If he's like, I don't know how to do this. This is dumb, or like gives me crap about something, I go, I think you can do it. And so he asked me the other day, he's like, why are you always making fun of me? And I'm like, dude, you have to realize that the kids I really make fun of a lot, I really like. And I do it because I know they can handle it and because I'm just trying to have fun. And I need to remind them of that sometimes. It's the kids I never make fun of that are like, I'm like, bro, I don't know if you got it. Like, you might just like lose your crap in class or something like that. Or like, you're just like kind of not fun. Like, so that is more of a sign to me. It's like when I'm not making fun of someone, when I'm not goofing around with someone, it means that, we just don't jive like that. So, yeah, I think, what's that?
Well, when you're done.
Okay. So I just think that's a thing. So, but I like having favorites and telling kids like, this is like one of my favorite students I ever taught in my life. You can get there too. Like, let's build that relationship. And then when you're a senior or a junior or a sophomore, like, we will connect like this as well.
Teacher Brett said that you can search up this hashtag like on Instagram, and virtual teachers are sharing how they do things. Cool. And
so, Teacher Brett, you said? Teacher Brett is saying that you can share, I'll cover that to do thing. This hashtag virtual teacher on social media, and you'll find stuff that people are giving away for free and ways that they're sharing and thinking of ways to kind of like get through this.
There are 2 questions there.
Yeah, I pulled that one out myself.
Great job.
I'm trying to take credit for my work. Andrew Powell is saying, longtime lurker on your channel. Andrew, let's just say there are a lot of lurkers and they don't ask questions, and that's completely fine. Not everyone needs to do it. What advice do you have about teaching high school students of poverty? So like kids that are like living in poverty, I think there's a couple things to keep in mind, right? So I teach in inner city Philadelphia. I also used to teach in Camden, New Jersey, which is one of the poorest cities in the continental United States. I think it comes down to a couple of things, right? Because I work with a lot of people that are nervous about coming off as like a savior or the great white hope, or like they have this like bringing their white privilege into school. And so how do we navigate that sort of thing? I think one, we just note, we don't have to say it to everyone, but we note the fact that we are different. And that if like me as a white man in America, it comes along with certain privileges. I can't do anything about that, but I can try to note that, right? It's about being present with that idea and kind of being mindful of how I am communicating with students and the things that I'm doing, and making sure that I'm not sort of coming off as like, some sort of savior or having that be a part of my connection with students as best I can, right? So that's something I'm always learning about, something I'm always sort of like identifying new things in myself, like bias that I'm not really sure there, but then when I learn about them, it's like, oh, I do that sometimes. And so like I should stop, like I should try and shift my thinking around that. I think the other piece is getting to really know who your students are and where they come from. I have, how do I want to say this? I think one of the biggest disservices I did when I started teaching in Camden, New Jersey was I knew the way in and I knew the way out. I had a thought that the neighborhood was completely dangerous and I shouldn't be driving around, that like I was going in, I was like helicoptering in to where I was going and then I was leaving as quickly as possible. And I felt great about being in school. I never felt like threatened or like that it was dangerous to be around my students. But when it was dark in Camden, I didn't know what to expect. But what I found was that on the days when I would just take a different way home, when I would just drive around the neighborhood, when I found out that everyone was hanging at this park, or these were the basketball courts everyone went to, or these were, the housing projects or the homes or the developments that kids were living in, like just taking a ride and just driving around. And then you realize a number of things. One, you get a real feel for the neighborhood and the community with which your students live in. And I think that can happen with students that aren't in poverty, with kids that are super rich and the teachers aren't as rich. Like, get a feel for what that looks like. Go to the places that the kids hang out. Doesn't mean I'm like walking around the park and sitting on the swings necessarily, but just getting a feel for the community. I think that doing that shifted my mind so much. And then even taking it a step further, I really think that in the neighborhood that I teach in, hanging out in a barbershop or a church is going to teach you so much more about how that community comes together, how they think, how they work problems out, what the kind of things that are hot topic issues in the community. It just gives you a sense of like not showing up like you know everything, but you have to figure out the people that you're teaching. So whatever that population is that you're teaching. So if I taught on a reservation in the middle of South Dakota, I would be sure to be a part of that community as much as possible. If I taught in a small village in Puerto Rico, I would make sure that I knew that village and I knew where the people came from and what their thoughts and their beliefs and their dreams and all that stuff was, because you're using all of that information. And the other thing is, as best as you can, not coming in like you are the greatest and you're bringing, like you are somehow a gift to people. And I say that, and I know that people that are watching this would not do that, right? Because people the people that are watching YouTube and trying to figure this stuff out are probably not doing that. But I've seen so many teachers do that, and it's just heartbreaking because it's like you're just teaching the kids. They're the people that are like, can't believe these kids. They don't even want to learn. What the hell do they come to school for? It's like, bro, like, do you know the history here? Do you know that, like, even in terms of like teaching, for me, teaching in a primarily African-American school, like all the baggage that still comes from like past experiences and a life that has come, it is,
It's not so simple.
It's not even simple to sort of explain, but it is me trying to figure out who my students are, how to love them best, and how I can be of service, instead of how can I come in as some kind of hero or white savior or something like that. So I think those are the things. So that was a lot longer of an answer than I thought it was going to be. Another one. Shoot, there it is. Jessica Small is asking, I'm concerned about grading during the shutdown. I have students who are going to be very anxious and won't be able to focus. How are we planning to grade effectively while keeping that in mind? So I think for me, it's going to be a lot of stuff on, I really like Google because I like that you can comment on things and kids can comment back and you can sort of like have almost this live chat with students where you're going through a document with them. I think it's going to be a lot of, I think for me, more than academics, it's care for students, right? So like at our school, one of the concerns that our CEO is figuring out is like, how are students that receive free and reduced breakfast and lunch going to get breakfast and lunch if school is not providing them with it? How are they getting education? How are they getting computers? And so that's one of those things we've been trying to think through as a community of educators. And I think he's done a really great job trying to figure some of that stuff out. To me, it's like emailing with students, if you can, calling students, texting with students, messaging with students, using things like WhatsApp and getting kids on there, letting kids share their thoughts and feelings about stuff, starting a closed Facebook group for your classroom, or something along those lines, or group chat, depending on the size of your class. That might it helps students feel connected. Like they're not all alone in this. Like they're not the only ones. And I think about the kids that are like in home situations that are not optimal. They're just really tough, or they're living in foster care. Like I said before, how are we caring for these kids? And I think it's going to be trying to figure that out. We're trying to figure out how to do that the best that we can. And then we're just hoping that it all works out, because there's no silver bullet here. There's no like right way or one way to kind of do anything. Abby is asking, how different was your first year of teaching from student teaching? A lot, because the school that I taught in was way different. So I student taught with a guy named...
Wait, before you get into that.
Yeah.
Jessica Smalls, or no, not Jessica Smalls. Alexis, I don't know how to say her last name. Comcast is offering 2 months of free Wi-Fi for students during closures.
Oh, awesome. Comcast is offering 2 months of free Wi-Fi for students. So if anyone can check that out, that would be...
For your students.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in short, the guy that I taught with, Mr. Zakaria at Winslow Township High School in New Jersey, was revered. Like people loved this guy. So I kind of got to live off of that a little bit. And he was a great teacher. So he would sit in the back of my room as I was teaching every day. And then immediately afterwards, we would go out to his car and he would just kind of, or to the break room or whatever, usually his car because he went to go smoke cigarettes, and make me stink. I just thought of that. I forgot about that. Okay. But we would just like break down the class on what went well and what didn't go well. And that was great. First year of teaching, nobody came in. I had a mentor that I saw one time and my man didn't even follow up with me afterwards. So I had zero idea of what I was doing was right or wrong. And that was the biggest difference. And student teaching, I felt like there was an out eventually, whereas first year teaching felt like this is never ending. It's the never ending story. It's going to go on forever. But then it doesn't. Queen de la Classroom, my buddy, is saying, who has a book coming out also. Do you think, doesn't she have a classroom? Or doesn't?
No, wrong person.
Wrong person?
That's,
well, she should have a classroom.
Naomi, which I don't remember her real.
I thought that was her YouTube. Oh, no? Mm-hmm. I'm mixing people up. Sorry. You could have a book. You should have a book coming out. Queen de, oh, no, now I know. No, my bad. I was thinking of two different names. Anyway, do you think having a teacher website is a good way for students and parents to be informed during this time of uncertainty? You could. I have found that having websites in the past didn't work for me. Nobody went to them, and so I stopped the upkeep on them. I think going to where people are anyway. So I think in the past I've had Facebook groups, I've had Instagram accounts, I've had Twitter. Depending on where the attention was at the moment, that's what I used, or what our parents are already using. So WhatsApp is free. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but they're free, and you can go on and you can like download the app and then you can use it. And it's like a quick and simple way for you to text people and for people to text you back. And then you're not, for folks that like have texting limits, you're not like sharing your personal information and they're not hitting those limits. They're just using WhatsApp instead. So that's what I plan on using that in Google Classroom while this is all going on. Summer Tate, my buddy, is asking, I will be teaching a professional development after the shutdown on Socratic seminars. Any advice on making this enjoyable for teachers? Snacks, modeling. I know that I usually do not like PDs. So that's a great idea. I think, how would I make that fun? Gosh, that's tricky. So I think when I do professional developments, I want to think of what would I enjoy doing? What makes this a little bit more fun? But then also for people that are more introverted, that aren't like the running up on stage and doing crazy stuff and being an active participant in it, like it's safe for them to do also. So I think it's just, one of the things I love to do is like kind of plant people. So like I'll have like certain folks that are going to participate and I let them know kind of what we're going to do. And I say like, look, I need you to like bring it today. And I do this with students too. So if we're doing something in class, I'll say, here's what we're going to do. This is going to be your job today. I need you to think about it because I need you to really bring it. And I'm trusting that you're going to do that. And I think that people really love when folks kind of are trusted with that sort of I don't know, responsibility in the group. So I think that's part of what I would do. And then just going at it like, look, you're not going to win everyone. Like, not everyone's going to want to do what you're going to do. It's not going to, because look, I am an offender of this. When I go to professional development, I immediately hate it. Like, I don't like being a part of professional development because it's usually 95% of the time it's somebody that's never been in the classroom. They read about a classroom, they taught for 1 year, they like don't really have the expertise to be focusing us on something or teaching us about something. It'd be like if someone read about basketball and they're my coach. It's like, this doesn't really add up. Now, sometimes the people that I really love are the people that have really been kind of like in the classroom. They've really done the work. They've really tried hard. They've had some really great outcomes. Those are the folks that I really appreciate. So I would think about, Summer, who are the folks that have been asked to do what you're going to do, that have done a really good job before, and then just taking ideas from them. Like, what are like little tidbits that you can take from them? So I think, again, I'm going to say, and I keep going back to this because I'm just really feeling the Facebook group, but I think if you go into the Facebook group and you put that in there and tell folks what you're doing, you'll get some really great answers from people based on like what they have done before, what they liked or what they didn't like. And I think that's a great place to post that question. Marie Cook, I think I'm saying that right, not Mary, Marie. What do you think districts need to do differently to prepare us teachers for possible future situations like this? I don't have the first clue about how to teach online. I don't think districts know how to do this either. I think that's the toughest part, is that no one's prepared for this. Schools are not created to be taught online. We were taught in college. We were taught in student teaching. We've been preparing on how to navigate this, how to navigate the education world with students in real time, not online. So I don't know that anyone has an answer to this right now. But I think it brings up a great conversation. I think it helps us to kind of like, I'm hoping for me that I start looking at online resources and things that exist in a different way, that I can just, when I go back to school, I'm like, no, that really worked. Like, that was great. Like, that took me outside of my comfort zone. It took me outside of my norm. It exposed me to a lot more stuff. It made me lean on other teachers in a way that I haven't had to do in a lot of years. It made me make connections with people and check in with folks and use things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, not just for cool decorating ideas or stuff like that, but like, no, like real meat and potatoes, sort of how is my lesson going to be done, sort of stuff. That part excites me. That part gets me excited to think, well, how can we do this? Like there's got to be a way, right? Like, it's not impossible. So how can we break this down so students will still do well? They can still feel connected. They can still feel loved and cared for. And how can we as teachers come together to figure out something? Look, because it's to figure out something that doesn't seem figure-outable. That being said, I don't think the districts ever know what the hell's going on. I don't think that the government ever knows how schools should be run, right? Like, it's always been the teachers on the ground level, right? That like have sort of been given the curriculum that's scripted. They've been given the lesson plans, and it's always us that have had to figure out how to use that to move the children. How do we sprinkle magic on what we're doing anyway? I don't think that this is any different. I think this is us trying to sprinkle magic on a problem that exists like we always have. It's just a little bit different than we've had to deal with before. So I wouldn't freak out about it. I think it's more like, how are we working together to get through this like we've always done?
It's 2:09. Do you want to answer any more?
Yeah, give me one more.
Oh, I gotta find it still.
I'm starving right now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
That's because you didn't eat breakfast.
I didn't eat breakfast with you guys,
Breakfast.
even though you made delicious breakfast.
Oh, hold on. There's one in particular I wanted to.
Sure, I'll sit here while I'm waiting. I play a fake song for everyone on my guitar.
You're making it hard for me to.
Oh, Jenai.
No, stop.
Welcome to Teacher Talk Live. Doom, 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 doom,
Okay,
doom,
got
doom,
it.
doom, 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 doom. You got one? Cool.
Yeah, it's Melissa Hewitt. And
Melissa Etheridge?
I don't know where it is,
Okay.
but there's like it's like a 3-parter.
Okay. Melissa Hewlett is asking, That's one of two. Oh, one of two. I met with my administration to express some dissatisfaction on how an earlier and public exchange had gone. It went sideways fast. I was accused of not respecting authority, not pulling my weight, and exploiting my relationship with our principal. We're reconvening Monday. What do you feel is the best way to leap up and express that they're way off base?
Give me advice.
Administration express them. I'm not. How do you take that question? It's a little bit. Look. I realize why Melissa would like be sort of vague about that because you don't want to just put that stuff out there, like specifics. But look.
Tell her to hit you up with an email.
So here's what I would say, Melissa. You can hit me up with an email if you want, and we can talk about this. But I would also say, whenever I know that what I'm doing is right, and I know it's right because I know it's about the students and it's not just about me. Although, like, look, I got to protect myself and I got to protect my own, self-interest sometimes too, because I care about myself. But when it's about students, I just have to remember that. Like, I think sometimes we forget why we got into education. That why we got into the things that we're dealing with, why we deal with all the madness all the time. We deal with the overcrowded classrooms and the lack of supplies and the lack of people supporting us. And when we remember that education's always only ever about the students, then I think that gives me courage on a level where I'm not going in to talk about myself, right? I'm going in to like stand up for kids. And if it is talking about me, or I think, well, it's not just me. It's every other teacher that's trying to do the things I'm trying to do, which is to educate students in a real and meaningful way. So I'm not just walking in for me. So when you go into the office on Monday, you're going in knowing that's not just you. You're standing up for the rest of us that are dealing with the same kind of nonsense in schools sometimes. Or you're standing up for your students that deserve better than what they've gotten. And look, I have a really great relationship with our CEO and with the dean of students and stuff. And I would never sweat. I'll hold that. So let me finish this thought. But those are hard won. Like I've built relationships with people, and if that benefits me, bro, like put in work then. Like go take the time to listen to someone, help them through things, to see them through hard times. Like, so if I have a better relationship with someone than other people do also, then a lot of times I don't think it's never come from me like kissing up or something like that. It's always been from me trying to like just really care about other individuals. And when that care comes back, then people can hate on that, but whatever. Like I'm doing what I'm doing for kids and for myself, and to try and further this broken institution that we're a part of. Background and knowledge, I have about a decade longer of leadership experience than this person. So sometimes, yeah, what do you do? Like when someone who's in authority doesn't have as much experience as you have. And I get it, right? Like I've been a teacher for a minute, and sometimes people that are put in leadership roles do not have the experience that I have. And so that can make you feel some type of way. I think, look, the bottom line is you need to care for yourself. You need to care about your family and make sure that is safe and that's cared for. And then remembering that education is only ever about the students. And when you do that, I think a lot of the other things kind of fall into place, because you know where your frustration comes from. You know where your anger, your agitation, your passion, your commitment, your excitement, your overwhelmness comes from this place of, I only want what's best for the kids. And nobody can argue that. It's harder to make that argument when it sounds like you are not making it about children. So I think actually Jerry Brooks just talked about this at his keynote. He said, if you make it about kids, it's harder for people to say anything. So if you get extra laptops for your room, it's like, and someone complains, it's like, well, I had kids that needed extra laptops, or I needed extra snacks for the students, or I needed extra time on the
I think that's one of your skill sets with how you talk about things and how you, like, quote unquote, get away with things at your school. But it's it's because it's always the students are first in your mind
Yes.
for everything. So it's like why I don't go to the meeting that I think is dumb, or why
Yeah,
I don't
for
do
sure.
like all the
When I don't go to
emails or all
100
the
things, and I
things.
say this online,
There's
when
tons
I
of
don't go
teacher
to 100
responsibilities
things
you
I'm
don't
supposed
do.
to go to, when there's all these responsibilities I'm supposed to do that I just don't do because I'm with a kid, because I'm working something out with a parent, because I'm helping another teacher through something. So it's like,
Priority.
I realize that we're supposed to all be doing X, but when there's a fire going on in someone's life and I feel like I can actually help with that, bro, I'm not doing the thing. I'm going to go help the person out. And sometimes, I don't do it out of cockiness or rudeness or
No, that's the difference.
it's
literally
always like,
always heart.
yes. And so that's the difference there.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Hey, that's a good question.
All right, last question. H. Dot is asking, is it good to think if you build a relationship with a student makes them is it
Another country.
hold on. Is it good to think that if you build a relationship with a student makes them rude and they won't take you seriously for lessons? What's your idea? Some teachers think that like this. Tons of teachers think like this. So the idea is if you build a relationship with a student and you become cool with them, then if they are acting out, now what do? Like, can you call them on that? But I thought, because it becomes like, Reynolds, I thought we were cool. Reynolds, I thought we were closer than that. I thought we were friends. And it's like, bro, we're never friends. It's bigger than that. I am your mentor. So I have guys, the other day this happened, DJ Dirty Kev. DJ Dirty Kev is a student that has been in my school since freshman year. I taught him 3 times already. And he is my homie. Like, he's on the front cover of the book. Like, he's my guy. He's been literally everywhere with me. The other day he did something and it pissed me off, but it was so weird because like he never pisses me off because we just vibe so well together. And I had to call him on it, and he kind of looked at me like how could you put me on blast in front of everyone? It's like, bro, because this is why I care so much about you that it's the only thing. Of course I'll call you on your stuff. I love my wife to death. Like literally, I would do anything for my wife. We still get in arguments. We still figure stuff out. We still get pissed off at one another sometimes. But it's because I'll call you out because I feel like I love you so much that how could I not do that? Like, your job of your friends, the job of your mentors, the job of your coaches isn't to pat you on the back all the time. It's to call you on your stuff sometimes when you need it also. And so if we look at teachers like their coaches yell all the time, and they pat you on the back, and they bump their head into your head, or whatever the hell else weird stuff. I don't know. I always played music growing up, not sports. But that happens all the time. And so that's what I liken it to students and say, bro, you know why? You know why I could do this to you, or I could say this to you? Because I care so much that, of course, I would be willing to risk it all to have you learn the lesson and to grow into your fullest potential of a human being, and to have everything that you're meant to have this lifetime. So that's it, gang. I'm gonna leave it there. 78 minutes in. I'm now starving. So
You're always
yeah.
starving when we end these.
I
Whether it's lunch or dinner.
No, we need to figure that out. I don't want to have snacks during it though.
It's called eat ahead of time. Eat when I cook.
Should I just eat during the live feed? That would be disgusting.
No.
Look, gang. I'm gonna. I have one video that's coming up tomorrow, and then I'm gonna make a video coming up on how I end up sort of planning for this, and maybe some of the resources that you can use. I'm certain a lot of my other like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook colleagues, we could say, are going to be doing the same thing. So I'm just thinking about that and wondering about that. And yeah, I hope that you're safe. I hope that your kids are all well, and I hope that you use this break also to find like some peace so that you can have some unordinary amount of energy and excitement going into the end of the school year. If we end up going back to school for this. So that's it, everybody. I will see you next Sunday, 1 p.m. again. Peace. Now.